Let me first off paint the picture with the latest one poll: 63% for Macron, 37% for Marine Le Pen. That just came in seconds ago, and the polls are all roughly saying the same thing, that he's widened his lead since that Wednesday debate. Let's look at what's happening on this final day on the campaign trail. Charles Pellegrin, Marine Le Pen got egged on Thursday. How'd it go this Friday?
A little bit better in the sense that she didn't get egged. The candidate of the National Front was in the Champagne region this afternoon and visited Reims' famous cathedral, where France's kings used to be anointed, with her nominee for Prime Minister Nicolas Dupont-Aignan. But as she went in, she was greeted by about 100 protesters chanting, quote, "Marine rend l'argent," which means Marine, give back the money, referring to the EU Parliament fake jobs scandal weighing over her party. The mayor of Reims had given her a warning on Twitter. Arnaud Robinet is from the Les Républicains party. He said, "Reims, the city of Franco-German reconciliation, a city turned towards Europe, a peaceful city, Marine Le Pen, don't waste your time," as in don't waste your time coming here. A little history note, Reims is where the end of World War II was officially signed in 1945, and after that in 1962, that's where Charles de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer sealed the reconciliation of France and Germany with a mass for peace in that same cathedral.
All right, and Marine Le Pen, who began her day on breakfast radio here in the French capital, where she got a chance before she headed out to Champagne to see another message.
Absolutely. Some Greenpeace activists managed to sneak past security and hang an enormous banner on the Eiffel Tower that said "Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité." So that's the slogan, the slogan of France, basically. #resist. Organizers explained this was an anti-National Front message. The head of Greenpeace France saying, "We wanted to say we are against the rise of nationalism and authoritarianism in France and in other countries." Well, a dozen activists were arrested, and this prompted an emergency meeting from authorities to see how security was breached so easily.
What's it with cathedrals, Charles? There's the Reims Cathedral. Emmanuel Macron also visiting a cathedral.
Yeah, what is the deal with cathedrals? It's the lesser-known Jerry Seinfeld bit. The centrist candidate, Emmanuel Macron, who was accused by Marine Le Pen of encouraging radical Islamist ideologies during the debate on Wednesday, tweeted this video you're about to see of him admiring the stained glass windows of the Rodez Cathedral in southern France with the following statement, quote, "Our culture is what holds us together," end quote. Perhaps a not-so-coded message to undecided voters on his right who care about so-called traditional French values.
All right, and there's, on the final day, we're still having that tug-of-war over who running mates are. Marine Le Pen's announced hers. She's been trying to get Macron to name his prime minister eventually.
Yeah, to no avail. Yeah, Marine Le Pen, as you said, already announced last weekend that her prime minister would be Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, the leader of the sovereignist so-called Debout la France party. And she criticized her rival Macron for not saying who would be his pick for prime minister. Let's take a listen.
I've named my prime minister. I'm up against an opponent who has refused to give the name of his prime minister, probably for electoral reasons. I find this lack of transparency harmful. Our size, our collective will allow us to be joined by people coming from different political backgrounds and those who wish to participate in righting the country.
Well, nonetheless, Emmanuel Macron has not caved to this pressure, and he only explained to the public what qualities he would be looking for in a prime minister.
It will reflect the commitments I have made and the guidelines I've laid out if the French people put their trust in me. It's someone who will have experience with political choices, the ability to lead a parliamentary majority, and the skills to lead a government that will be charting a new path. Experienced women and men will be part of this.
Originally, he'd said it would be a woman who would be named. Here, he seems to be a little more vague about it.
He's remaining too vague to make any predictions at this point.
Okay. He's also perhaps changing his tune when it comes to, because after the presidential elections, it's not over. We got the legislative elections coming up. He's perhaps changing his tune when it comes to who can stand for his En Marche movement in those legislative elections.
That's right. Macron's facing a bit of a problem in these parliamentary elections, in the sense that his En Marche movement is very new, very recent, and probably he'll have trouble finding enough people to run for him in every single district. So he explained on the radio this morning that anyone from the Socialist Party or Les Républicains willing to join his ranks will not be required to forsake his or her membership to that party. That opens the door for many people. One example, for instance, being Emmanuel Valls, the former prime minister, who is a socialist. And he could, if he wanted to, run as part of the En Marche movement in his district of the Essonne for the parliamentary elections. If he doesn't join, however, he will have to face an En Marche rival in his district.
All right, so perhaps a bit of a flip-flop there on the part of Macron. And of course, for Emmanuel Macron and for Marine Le Pen, it's about how wide a margin of victory, assuming the polls are correct and that Macron will win on Sunday. We've had surprises in the past. We didn't in the first round. And then, of course, there's the turnout rate, which could also make a difference as to the legitimacy of the winner.
Absolutely. It would really define the start of Emmanuel Macron's mandate, how many people show up to vote, and also the margin of his victory. Well, a poll released this morning shows that we might have one of the lowest participation rates in recent French history. That rate could be of 75%, which is less than the first round, and the lowest of all for past second round votes, as you see from 2002 all the way to today. Well, that's 1 out of 4 electors that's estimated won't make it to a voting station on Sunday. Abstention will be particularly high among the unemployed and blue-collar workers. Well, a discussion on this topic is being held in Paris this evening, attended by many important French political figures. Our reporter Luc Schrego was there.
Well, we're less than 48 hours away from France's second round of its presidential election, and the overwhelming concern at the moment is one of abstention. A poll earlier on Friday has indicated that at least a quarter of the French electorate isn't going to turn out to vote. Now, that's very much the idea of combating that here at this, what they're calling a Republican forum on Friday evening. It's under the auspices of philosopher Bernard-Henri Lévy. He's a household name in France, a philosopher who you may remember went to Libya during that country's uprising a few years ago. Now, it's being billed very much as a vote of rejection. It's against the National Front. You may be able to see on the screen behind me, I vote against the FN. Now, this is very much an event that is uniting politicians from across the political spectrum. They're bringing in Ségolène Royal, the former presidential candidate from the Socialists, Bernard Kouchner, former foreign minister, former Socialist Prime Minister Emmanuel Valls, Conservative MP Christian Estrosi. This is very much a means to try and combat that rate of abstention that is, in fact, the highest it's been in modern France since the 1960s. Now, we spoke to Bernard-Henri Lévy earlier. He told us that, in fact, this was not about trying to simply just getting people out to vote. It was about ensuring that people were aware of the danger of a National Front presidency. He told us that it's the same as when Donald Trump happened. It's that no one thought it was going to happen and everyone was surprised. He said that it was a battle for democracy itself in France, under Marine Le Pen, that we would be living in a different France. Now, the question, in fact, is how exactly they're going to find the way, as they put it, to retoxify the National Front. Of course, we've seen previous years Marine Le Pen battling hard to detoxify the image of the National Front in France, to normalise it and to put it through as any other ordinary political party. That's very much the stakes here on Friday evening. The question, however, we have to remember, they're hoping to find another method of pushing through the Republican front that we saw in 2002 when the left wing held its nose and voted overwhelmingly for right-wing candidate Jacques Chirac. Now, with polls indicating that Emmanuel Macron may take 61 to 62% of the vote, we're a long way from that, with Marine Le Pen approaching 40. The question is, can France rely on that Republican front to come through again?
Luc Schrego, there's another factor that people have in a corner of their mind, which is it's a long holiday weekend, Charles. And so some people are worried that there could be a lower turnout also because of that. Of course, some have already taken precautions and have gotten what they call proxy votes ready.
That's right. In an effort to fight abstention, both the parties going head-to-head in France's presidential election are offering to organize proxy votes for their members. As this weekend is a public holiday, many voters are going away and will need someone to place their ballots for them. Ellen Gainsford has the story.
With the final round of the French presidential elections just days away, time is running out for people wanting to vote by proxy. This National Front voter has already registered on the party's website. He's going to be away this weekend and wants to make sure his vote is counted.
Here at least it's a member of the National Front who's going to vote for me. I'm sure to give my vote to the candidate that I chose.
It's the party that will find someone to vote in his place from its registered members.
In Lyon, we've quite a lot of people, but in some villages there are only 1 or 2 registered members. That doesn't mean there are only 2 FN voters, but that we don't have their details.
It's the same race against time for Emmanuel Macron's party, En Marche.
What we do is try to bring people together depending on what area they live in, using an algorithm that judges where the person is, their trustworthiness, and how we can put the two people into contact.
This En Marche supporter has volunteered to vote by proxy for someone from her town.
I saw the call for proxy voters on social networks and that I could sign up to be one. I think that with the last round only a few days away, the stakes are high. It's important to be able to help.
The final round of the French election falls on a 3-day weekend in France. And as Monday is a public holiday, many voters are going away. There's expected to be around 4 to 5 times more proxy votes than in the first round.
All right, Charles Pellegrin, many thanks for that. By the way, if you want to have specifics on the platforms of these very different candidates, one place to go, France24.com. We have our presidential platform comparison. That's it for this edition of Campaign Beat.